right? Like you're walking down the street and a fat person walks up to you and you're like, oh, that's a fat person, or a little tiny skinny guy or whatever. Our brain likes to label and judge and think in negative fashion when we're classifying these people in a hierarchical way. I think through biofeedback and through inner work, you have to hack your brain's wanting to classify people in a negative fashion. And when you can do that, and everyone is equal, and again, this is the new age, this goes back to the new age statement, then you don't have any of that. Because how many times do you walk down the street, bro, right now, and you see somebody that's ugly, fat, whatever, and you're immediately judging them, not negatively, but your brain is classifying them according to usually like what it is that manifests first glance. When you don't do it negative, you're onto something.
Yeah, I think that we just lost everybody for a while, for a few seconds, or maybe up to 30 to 45 seconds, but I think we're back now.
It says live. It never went on live on me. What happened? Are we getting attacked?
Yeah, it looks like it. Mine blinked off, and now it shows 3 watching. So you, me, and Percy, and I'm not sure anybody else is here with us.
True, brother.
I know.
That's awesome. Remember I told you last week it was doing it to me.
Yeah.
We love you.
We're popping back up again.
We love you, YouTube.
We do.
Man, that was so profound what I was saying. Well, I hope that you guys were able to hear that. But that's, to me, when you don't classify people when they first appear in your skew or field of vision or prism of vision, and you just have a positive think, oh, it's just another person to love, another person to be nice to, another person to ask how their life is. That's when you are living in that loving, forgiving zone all the time. Totally. Okay.
So when you see people and your first reaction is not to categorize them.
Yes.
Not even black, white, Asian.
Nothing.
Right. Male, female.
Right. I think the brain, the ego brain, the limbic left side, the left hemisphere, which is the reptilian side of our brain, it wants to classify. And we usually label or judge because, again, it's just the part of our brain that does that. And when you...
Well, you're identifying, is it a threat? Is it a fear, friend or foe?
Survival programming, right.
Yeah.
So when and again, that's the whole Matthew Ferry, when there's really no threat of survival in this modern day society, unless you're walking through Israel and there's bombers or something. But in America, for the most part, you're not really in threat. I think it does become, and again, this is inner work. This is biofeedback. This is training your brain to not do that, man. Because it's true, right? You're right. Like you immediately classify somebody as black, white, female, fat, skinny, short, bald, whatever it is you do. If that person does something to you, then unbecoming, whatever it is, what are you at? You're already in the left side.
Yeah.
So you're ready to fire off negative.
So Jay, are you telling me that we need to train our brain?
I'm telling you that through inner work, you can, and through biofeedback, you can hack that classification or categorical or hierarchical system that wants to label things in a negative fashion.
Absolutely.
Right. And again, that's the whole, if you love everybody, that's the difference between, the new age, love everybody,
And Jay, that is the categorical opposite of what the classic American education system is doing by making everybody a minority and, black day and Mexican day and left-handed day and right-handed day. They try to couch it in these glowing terms of inclusion, but what they're really doing is making sure that we understand all the differences between us so we can't gather together as one. We got to balkanize ourselves up into a bunch of warring parties, and everybody feels like they're a minority, and everybody gets to be a snowflake, and everybody gets to melt and be offended.
Yep.
Oh, don't get me started.
But no, you're right. Again, it's the whole divide and conquer.
Yep.
Keep them distracted, keep them divided, no sovereignty, no unity, no centralization, divide and conquer. And that's where we are right now. But again, this show, people like us are, the Essene, as we gather back, we're showing a different way. Now, check out this quote. It says, we can only merge with the divine when we are capable of true forgiveness.
We can only merge with the divine when we're capable of true forgiveness. I agree.
If we are able to take the leap of faith and forgive completely, and that includes, here's the drum roll, please, forgiving ourselves.
Ooh, yeah, that's the tough
then
one.
everything is possible and the future beckons like an open door.
Well, Jesus said,
profound statement.
love your neighbor
Right.
as you love yourself. What does that mean? That
Same
means,
thing.
first of all, you've got to love yourself.
And Jeff, that's the root of all the problems in society.
Well,
People,
Jesus said that is the two things on which everything else hangs. Love yourself, love your neighbor.
if you do not love yourself, you cannot love another person.
No.
You cannot be a good husband. You cannot be a good father. You cannot be a good son or aunt or uncle. You cannot love anyone when you can't love yourself. And
Jay, that's why some of these people, and we've both had them in our lives, and maybe we've been these people. That's why people get so selfish and so self-centric, is because they don't love themselves, so they need somebody else to supply it.
That's absolutely the truth.
Oh, light bulb going off.
Well,
I understand.
Here's something even better. Here's something even deeper on that. So when you don't love yourself and you don't have love from others, what do you love? Alcohol.
Ooh, yeah.
The high of drugs.
That's why you get hooked on drugs and booze and sex, because you can't stand yourself.
We just hacked the matrix right there.
Oh, there it is.
You love something because, remember, two things, two universal truisms as a human in this meat suit: to give and to receive love. So if you're not receiving love because you don't love yourself, well, you're still looking for something that gives you the feeling of love. And the feeling is the high,
right?
The drunkenness.
That is the actual metabolic feeling, isn't it?
Exactly, dude.
Wow.
It's amazing.
And that's why some people gorge themselves with foods, because they get the same endorphin rush.
The effect of food is making them love. That gives them love. Yeah, it's
wow. And that gives you a whole new, I mean, I'll look at that fat slob, blah, 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 blah. But what you really need, now you understand what it's coming from. It's not because they just want to be a fat slob.
I mean, even like for me or you or anyone who's in shape or is healthy or whatever, and we see someone and we label them fat, that's an inward reflection of us.
It is.
That we don't ever want to be fat.
Right.
And so we label that person who's fat as that person because, again, it's the mirror test.
It is.
So, these are, again, when Sean called me today, she's like, I only have a couple minutes. I want to talk to you. But she's like, Jay, I have to tell you, I've never been more moved in my whole life. So many things have come together since I started reading Jesus and the Essenes. She was like, my day job is so inconsequential to me now. It's like all I think about. And I was like, I told her, I thought she was actually reading this book because I said, as profound as that book is, when you get to this book, you're gonna be like, ugh. But I was like, oh, Sean, man, then you're on the right path. Let me read a couple more and then we'll just
let me ask you a question before I forget though. We're talking about this thing, people don't love themselves. But we've all seen this, and we probably both of us did this at one time. It doesn't matter who walks into the gym, Jay. You can see them looking in the mirror, doing their set, and they always see themselves better than what they really are.
Right, right.
So how does that square with not really loving yourself when you see yourself better than what you are?
I mean, we don't really understand or know what they're seeing. Obviously, yes, we see them looking at themselves in the mirror. They may be narcissistic, whatever, but who's to say that they don't see something better only from a motivational standpoint? I'm saying it's probably not normal, not the majority, but maybe they look at themselves as something different because they're trying to progress to that person or attempting to get to the person that they imagine when they see in the mirror.
Yeah.
But it's probably not true, because I think it is more true that people that do get to where they want to go have always seen that body, even when they didn't have it.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? But you're right.
Because I still see myself to this day see myself as Jay Campbell when I look in the mirror.
The inverse is true though, right? Because as you and I have said a million times on previous shows, if you stand in the mirror in the morning and you're morbidly obese and it's okay with you, then there's something, and again, and again, not from a narcissistic fashion, but from a health fashion, right? Like, that you're not healthy. Your meat suit is not maximized / optimized. And you and I already said, if you're not physically optimized, you cannot be spiritually optimized. There's no way.
Right. Not unless there's some type of a, debilitation beyond your ability,
well, yeah, I mean, there's
limiting you.
exceptions and outliers and stuff like that. But even people that are dysfunctional from handicaps or physical defects or injuries or accidents or whatever, even they can still have a drive to be better.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's really no excuse to to ever not want to be better and to, Monica's term, constant and the striving of constant and never ending improvement to live that life. But, to what you're saying, it is a form of delusion. So what level of delusion do you use in your life to motivate you to positive things? And what level of delusion do you use to push you to negative things? I think if the delusion is pushing you to benefit and serve more people at your highest and creative intention, then okay.
Yeah.
But if it's not, and it's keeping you obese, sick, unhealthy, and then you're a mother and you're doing it to your children, because that's a whole other story, but then it's the same thing, right?
I agree 100%.
All right. So a couple more things about forgiveness. Forgiveness frees us. Without forgiveness, we are locked forever in the past and we cannot reach the future.
Absolutely.
It was so central that Jesus spoke often of it. Forgiveness casts aside division and affirms oneness, for it is only in a state of oneness that we can rise into eternal life. At the level of the divine presence, there is no loss, only gain, and it seems natural to forgive. But at the limited individual level, which is all of us, the view is different. Here, one sees forgiveness as a loss. They say, why should I give up my moral superiority over this person who has done something to hurt me and wrong me? So they hug the hurt to themselves, and then they are never free. Monica posted a meme today on Facebook, which I'm not going to pull up right now because I don't want to go look for it, but it was talking about you forgive not to accept or be okay with what the person who did something bad to you did. It's to release the negative energy that binds you to that person's act.
I got a story, Jay, that's a beautiful illustration of this. It's not mine. I stole it from a preacher long ago, but it's a great story. And I've seen this firsthand. When they hunt monkeys, and some places do hunt monkeys, they take a hollowed out coconut, they cut a hole in it, which is just big enough for a monkey to stick his hand through. And they put a shiny object down there in the bottom. And the monkey will go up, walking down on doing monkey stuff, stick his hand into the coconut, grab that thing, and the hole's not big enough to get his hand back out while he's holding on to that shiny thing. And they simply walk up to him and beat him over the head with a club and kill him.
Yep.
That shiny thing is the offense that somebody did to us. They did something to us, and we will not let go. We will not forgive because we think it's letting them go. But somebody is going to come and bash us over the head and kill us if we don't let go of the offense.
Amazing. There you go. That's about as well as you could put it in an actual physical, see it and understand it. But yeah, I mean, think about that. So
let go, not for them. Let go for yourself. You're going to get your brains bashed out.
That's what I'm saying. Think about that, Jeff, though. It's the exact same thing. Why should I give up my moral superiority over this person who has done something to wrong me? That is majority of society today.
Yep.
So Jesus's lesson was like, and again, the Essenes and both of the books talk about this. Jesus knew that it was only going to get worse as time went on, that the dark forces, the negative energy, whatever you want to refer to them, would use, again, now with technology, the great enslaver, to create the victimhood culture.
Absolutely. And Jesus even talked about it. He said, take no offense. Exactly. Offenses will come, but you don't have to take them.
It's so
let that stuff go on blast. Yeah.
It's such a lesson to be able to forgive. And again, I've been dealing with this.
What is Facebook, Jay? What is Facebook? All these people today, they did this to me and they did that to me and they're doing this and it makes me feel like this. It's taking that offense. You're cuddling it. Oh, look at this offense right here. You're petting the offense. You're feeding the offense. You're showing it to all of your, just drop the thing.
Absolutely.
Your brain's back.
Yeah, Facebook, all of the social media was created to create outrage amongst us, so that this idea that would collectively unify us overnight and drop the grid of the matrix, which would be forgiveness and love, is impossible.
Yeah, but misery loves company, doesn't it?
Sure do.
And some people don't want to get rid of their misery. Why don't they want to get rid of their misery, Jay? Because then they wouldn't have no company.
Crabs in a bucket.
Boom.
That's exactly what it is. Right. And that's why we have victimhood. So
they're not comfortable with themselves.
Last quote.
They don't love themselves. Wow.
Exactly, dude. So I should probably read both of these. They're so profound. So how do you feel or sense or perceive the divine presence within? It will vary from individual to individual. Some sense it as a great angel and some like a loving energy which enters every fiber of their being. But the simplest way of thinking of the divine presence is as the spirit. Jesus saw a clear difference between the spirit and the soul. This is big here.
Yes, he did.
He told us that the soul is good, but limited, whereas the spirit has no limits or boundaries and links all beings in the greater oneness.
Boom.
Jesus said there are good qualities in the soul, but like reason. So here we go. Dr. Hawkins, left brain, right brain, consciousness, right? 450 is left brain logic. 500 is love. It's right here. Reason, we're limited and could take us only so far upon our journey, whereas the spirit, being one with the light, contained all within it and was infinite. Hence, he urged us to lay aside the reason that we so focus on. I got to be right. I got to be right. I got to be right. I got to get the last word in. That's what he's saying. And become spirit-filled. From when we are full of the spirit, the whole universe opens to us and all things are possible.
Yeah.
Now, here's interesting, right? Because we're already saying it. We've already foreshadowed it. This message was never received by all. And many feared to cast themselves adrift upon the sea of spirit. But Jesus counseled us to be bold and surrender ourselves to spirit, for though we may not understand its ways, it will inspire us to far greater things than reason could ever dream of. So this is the lesson right here for all of us, myself included. You have to be surrendered. If you surrender to God, the greater knowing, what is, and just say, in that I trust, your life will be amazing.
But Jay, that means that people have to take a risk to be willing to do that.
Right.
But in the words of Captain James T. Kirk,
right,
risk is our business.
It's totally true, man. Let reason be your only servant to be engaged from time to time when you require work of that level to be done. But let spirit be your master and the inner voice, the higher self, to which you constantly pay heed. For spirit is the master of us all and joins us all into one great brotherhood and sisterhood of life and light.
That's right.
It's Jeff, it's so easy, but we make it so hard. And to all of everybody's credit and also to the true understanding, it was once a lot easier when we didn't have all of this to distract us.
It was.
When you didn't, somebody made a profound comment to me on Thursday night when I was with Mike Cernovich and I was in this big group down in Orange County and we were doing some stuff for the podcast. And the guy said to me, he's like, dude, think about this. 150 years ago in 1870, and you were living in the West Coast of the United States, right? You had just come across in the Great Divide, the Gold Rush, whatever. You made more decisions in 1 hour of today, driving your car, getting your keys, putting on the radio station, sending text messages, posting on blah, 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 than you waited an entire week living then. And he was like, think about that. Think about how that has changed our brain patterns, the way we worry, our anxiety, all these things that we did not have, again, because of this.
Yeah.
And so it's like, are we really better off because we have air conditioning and we have BMWs and we have fast food? Or were we better off when we didn't have any of this, but yet we were connected to the earth, Gaia, and to spirit all the time?
We don't all have BMWs, Jay.
Jeff, you've had a BMW. Okay, you goes. But it's true, though. I mean, like when you really start thinking about how this is really not a benefit. I mean, sure, it's all what we know, and it's the game that we live in right now, and it is part of the matrix and the money magic system, but it's not a benefit. And when you understand that it's not, you really do pursue nature. You do pursue grounding. You do pursue inner work and mindfulness training. You do the things that will take you back to the natural order of who we are as biophotons and energetic balls of plasma.
We've said it 100 times, Jay. You got to take your shoes off. You got to get on the earth. You got to get in the sand. You got to get in the sun. You got to breathe in some fresh air. You got to remind yourself that you're alive. Remind yourself that you're a human.
Dude, I have to read this last quote and we can wrap it up. We got time. This is so profound. So this quote right here, you guys, Jeff and I, if you guys take what I'm about to read in, we don't ever have to do another show. I mean, this is, again, when you read this book, dude, you're going to be texting me. You're going to be like, damn, I didn't believe you, bro, because we read so many books. But wow, Jesus came to establish a more permanent way of spiritual development.
Ooh.
And that's centered upon this knowledge of the divine presence, the spirit within. Compared to the spiritual traditions of the past, this connection with the divine presence is a simple and straightforward way of moving to the light. The work of Jesus was like a signpost pointing to this, the way. But even when he taught this, many did not understand him. They could not grasp that because the divine presence is within, knowing ourselves is also knowing God. This idea frightened them, and they would rather think of a perfect Father in the sky and themselves as miserable and imperfect creatures crawling upon the surface of the earth, looking for God's salvation. Yet the ancient sages had always said that knowing thyself is the key. The tragedy of the average person was that this was a key they were too frightened to use, too frightened even to admit existed. This was the root of confusion during my lifetime. This is obviously one of the Essene elders. And it is likely that in future time, us right now, this confusion will only increase. Many people will not see clearly what is to be done and will not have the commitment. Jeff, we say this in every show, the commitment or the courage to surrender to the divine presence. You just said it 5 minutes ago.
Yep.
Even if it is a gateway to the infinite, they will be like men starving when the richest treasure in the world lies neglected right under their feet.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how we could even say it any better, but right, the parable of that right there is that God is inside you.
Yep.
He's not.
Jesus said that the kingdom of God is in you.
He's not in the Catholic Church.
No.
He's not in the bully pulpit on Sunday.
No.
He's not in the hat that they're passing around that you feel obligated to tithe 40% of your income to.
No.
When are people going to wake up?
And Jay, he's not in the White House. He's not in the State House.
He's definitely not in the Vatican.
He's not in the corner office.
Stuff, it's amazing.
It is.
And here's the thing. What you and I are saying right now, 400 years ago, we'd be on fire.
And not in a good way.
Alive. No one was able to say this. The idea that we have now the free scope of expression and to exchange this information, ubiquitously across the world to people who have broadband internet, which is pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
And then they can share this and they can share this with other people. I mean, this is
right now, South Africa, Netherlands,
right,
Mexico, Germany, and that's just part of the list right now as we sit here.
So, I mean,
Japan.
We are resonating across every continent, every nation.
North Korea.
Every nation state is seeing this.
Yeah.
So again, what are you going to do when you watch this? Are you going to take this message home and start practicing this in your life to realize that God is within? Are you going to take a stand and stop going to mass on Sundays? Jeff, how many times have you and I said this? And again, I hate saying this because it's so powerful and profound, but so it hurts people. When you go to an Abrahamic house of worship, you give vibrational energy to a negative force.
You're literally keeping him alive.
This planet.
Yep. You're literally keeping him alive.
It's incredible.
It is called spiritual Stockholm syndrome, and you got to break it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at this point, do you honestly believe, though, that people that watch our show still go to mass on Sundays? Do you think that that's possible?
Not very many of them. Not very many of them.
Because I don't.
And how do we reach out to people outside of our orbit, Jay? I mean, how do we get more people?
I don't think it's our place, dude. I think, again, we share our truth. And for those that are open to receiving it and are ready, they come and they listen.
That's a good point. Why I'm trying to
shout from the mountaintops. Hey, Mr. Catholic, do you know that your God is a demon?
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right. You're right, Jay.
People wake up when they wake up, man.
They do. And it's, who said it was spiritual violence to try to wake someone up before they're ready?
Julian Ponzin. Yeah. Yep. And it's a great. I'll use that for the rest of my life. They have the right to remain asleep for as long as it entertains them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have the right to remain silent, but I often lack the ability, Jay. So I'm working on that.
Well, Jeff, as you know, because of that, I am in hot water right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
This has been a profound show. You guys,
each of us should take the time to just sit back. I'm home and my mother's in there, and love of my life is in there, and you just got to take some time. You just got to sit back sometimes and be thankful for where you are, because you never know where you're going to be.
As bad as I was, as bad as I was last night, and I was laying, in my couch, realizing what may or may not happen. And I'm surely not out of the water probably yet, or the woods yet. I had great resolve to just go and sit with my daughters and tell them I love with them, and just bask in my love and give them love and surround them with light, and realize that, it's meaningless, right? Because we know we're in a lucid dream anyway, but ultimately beyond that, it's like time, which isn't even real. It's linear. It's definition of a three-dimensional realm. It heals everything, right? And it's the old adage of like, what's the difference between a good and a bad haircut? About 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in 4 weeks, what I've done, will anyone even remember, with people's brains engineered to forget shit 7 days ago?
Were you talking about my haircut, Jay, by the way?
Exactly. But that's the thing, is like, think about how much energy we put into the idea that we've wronged ourselves or wronged others. If you could just look at the picture from, again, remove, be that ball of plasma and look down at your physical body and be like, wait a minute, in 10 days, it won't even matter.
It doesn't matter in 10 minutes, probably.
Well, I think it matters because you're in that, realm of the demiurge, and, the vibrations come because, again, you're right. It wouldn't have mattered. I would have forgotten it last night, but then today I got messages from 50 people. Oh my God, bro, this guy is doing this. So it matters, but you're right. In 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, no one will even remember it happened.
You're right.
So again, it's a choice how we're going to live our life. I said in my message today, or in my newsletter today, we can close with this. I said, the only two things that you control in your life are the words that you say. Obviously, again, words have power, and the intonation or the resignation, the frequency that comes out of those words. And then even more important, your reaction to what happens around you.
That's right.
So you control your words, which are your thoughts. Obviously, if you're writing them in messages, don't say anything negative or untoward or unbecoming, and control your emotional response to the insanity that goes around you. A master is someone who can literally remain calm as a nuke goes off around them. Exactly. Right?
Exactly.
So it's those two things. If you control those two things, you don't have anything to worry about. Because ultimately, if you control the first thing, you're always practicing love and forgiveness, right? Because you don't say anything negative or bad about anybody. And for me, dude, and I know we talked about this, I know when I can stop that label, so-and-so's this, so-and-so's that, and it's not even something I consciously do. It's literally an unconscious, involuntary response. When I can stop that from being negative, I probably won't do anything stupid anymore.
Profound stuff, Jay Campbell. Tell our audience how they can get in touch with you and take advantage of all of your great work. Man, Jeffrey, all I can tell you, dude, is I love you. I'm very, very thankful that I have you. I'm very, very thankful that I have the show, because I've let so much of the bad, negative juju that I've, been vibing, throughout the last day. And, the thing is too, I want to make this very clear. And I don't think this guy would ever watch this. Yeah, I'll only charge you $100 an hour. So it's a good deal.
I mean, I told this person that I've forgiven him and that I love him, and that all I want to do is have a phone conversation with him to apologize personally. And after that, he can do what he wants with it. That's what's important, is when you really, truly tell someone, no matter how bad they've wronged you, that you forgive them and that you love them and that you understand. It's so cathartic to release that. And I think I felt like I did that today on the show, through this. And that's what's so amazing. But people can find me My website is totrevolution.com. I'm on Twitter at trtexpert, and you can always email me. The fastest way to get a hold of me is not personal anymore because I have so many emails. It's just contact@trtrevolution.com. If you don't have any of the books that we've been talking about, that's the best way to get the books. Hopefully a lot of you guys have read Jehovah en Masse. By the way, that's a book we should probably do a book report on because, dude,
Absolutely.
I've gotten so many amazing emails from people who said, wow, I cannot believe I've been under the God spell this bad for so long. Thank you. Yep. I mean, I've gotten more than 100 emails from people that said, thank you, thank you, thank you. So epic.
Excellent.
Man. Loved all you guys, man. Without you guys, we don't have a show. So thank you for everything you guys do.
To everybody in the chat room, I salute you for being here, seeking after truth. And from my hometown, Seminole, Florida, it's been my pleasure to be here with Jay Campbell. This has been The Last Stand. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I changed this a little bit, Jay. I don't know if you're going to like it or not, but we are the last generation of real humans and the next generation of new gods.
That's awesome.
We'll see you again next week, ladies and gentlemen. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks for being here, Jay.
Thank you, brother. Love you.
And thank all of you for being here as well.